Hello, everyone. This is the Phoenix coming to you live this morning on the 2nd of April, 2021. I'm going to talk this morning a little bit about racism. Now, a subject that I don't really like to talk about, but I feel I need to talk about it just a little bit. Clear the air, the smoke, if you will. In America, it started a long time ago in Virginia, in the Holler Halls, Virginia. I think it was 1681, where it was deemed that the white man or the pale man was to be in charge of the society and have special privileges. And the dark man would be his vagabond, no longer be able to stand beside his white brethren on the square. This was due in part because of the 1676 rebellion called the Bacon's Rebellion, which a lot of people don't talk about, and I never heard of it just in my school days, because this kind of information is not to be let out amongst the masses, because it's this kind of information, along with other information, which keeps the black man and the white man and the red man, the yellow man and the brown man fight amongst each other, while the politicians and the aristocrats and the mercantile seamen control the politics, control the laws of the land by military might, by economic might, by education, miseducation, and spirituality / religion. Okay, so whenever you realize how the nation started, and when you realize the lies that's been told about how they were told and what they were to benefit, then you won't get as upset as you have been. Then you can understand why it is important to keep things going. Every time you turn around in the media, it's white man or black man. It's always going to be color coded to its T. And that's because it's based off of race. America or the United States politics are race based, color based. It's color based to therefore differentiate between the powerful and the weak. Abraham Lincoln in 1858, I think it was Indiana, he said this. He said, as long as there was black man and white man in the United States of America, there had to be a place of inferiority and superiority amongst the races. And he said that he was in favor of the white man, quite naturally being in the position of superiority. This has not changed. This hasn't changed at all. I don't want to talk too fast because I can really talk fast. So I'm talking slow so I can get in a little bit of relevance and not sound like I'm running against a train. The majority of people in leadership knows what I'm talking about. The politicians do, the Supreme Court do, they know. Even some of the black leadership, they know what's going on. But the people are expendable. is to use the people, to use them and use them up as much as possible so that the people won't get a leg up or understanding. And they think that they were born this way or they were cursed like this, when in actuality, it's all by design. And its designer is man itself. I often hear a lot of conservatives like Jesse Lee Peterson and Larry Elder talk about the blatantness of systemic racism that blacks always talk about that is wielded against them by the establishment. Well, there is no secret that there is racism, and the racism was put in place for national security. Racism is a national security principle or mechanism put there, therefore, to keep the masses off of the backs of the elites, the politicians. The masses of the people are the government. But the politicians don't work for the government. Okay? The masses of the people vote for politicians. But the politicians they vote for are not, I will say again, they are not a part of the government. Meaning they're not a part of you and me. They're part of something else, a corporation. But we don't know any better. So we continue to vote. That stands true for Republicans and also Democrats and independents. It really doesn't matter. They're all the same. Racism and discrimination are not going anywhere. The Republican Party was founded in 1854 as the anti-slavery party. You can't tell that today, and I've done videos on this before, speaking about how contrite and how obtuse the Republican Party really is. They are the furthest from any of that. They're not anti-slavery. They say it never exists. Slavery never existed. Or they'll say, well, it wasn't as bad as they said it was. The black man got paid. Police brutality. It never existed. It don't exist. So when you come down to talking about injustices in this nation, the Republicans, the conservatives, they deny any of that. They say it never happened. Then you got Democrats, and everything, as far as they're concerned, is discrimination and injustice. So you got one that says none of that never happened, and you got another that said it always happens. Both cannot be right, and both are not right. It doesn't always happen. It's probably happened less than we know. But slavery did happen. And the effects of slavery lingered after the people were let out on slavery by the 13th Amendment, subsequently to the 14th Amendment. It all changed. Not for the better, but for the worse. Because realistically, what we have a people and the indigenous people, which are we call black, but they're indigenous. They didn't all come from Africa. Probably the majority of us was born here. We don't have roots in Africa. Came out of a system and didn't know nothing. Didn't have nothing. Didn't know how to read, didn't know how to write, didn't have no family values. Because it was illegal for a slave to be married and have kids under his tutelage. He had no rights by law to say that he could be a father or a mother, or he could be a husband or a wife. Slave masters or the system could come right along and remove that so-called right away from him. And then you have what you call the buck. I keep mentioning this because I want for people to understand what I'm talking about. The buck. Who just went around having kids? No responsibility needed. Having them for the slave master. And we got the same thing today. But it's ingrained in a lot of us. Not all of us, but ingrained in a lot of us. A lot of our men and women too are breeders. That's all. We have become a remanufactured people. Remanufactured. Meaning that we have lower human values than the majority of other people. Not because of nature. It's not because of nature. It's because of systematic annihilation. You can call it systemic racism you want, but I never call it white supremacy because that's another killer. We got ourselves going around here nowadays talking about white supremacy. Nigger, well, whatever you want to call yourself, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. There is no such thing as white supremacy. Stop using that word. It's more demeaning than you know. Because when you say white supremacy, you automatically, unconsciously, irrecoverably are giving power over to somebody else, over you, and telling them that they're more superior and they got more going for them. And in the word minority, you're not a minority. You're only a minority when you think that you're a minority. See, emotions create thought. Not thought create emotions. So-called African Americans feel inferior, so they speak it into existence. That's the best way that you can realize that there's a problem. So if a people feel inferior to you, they feel inferior about themselves. And they don't feel good about themselves as far as doing for self, protecting self, preserving self. They're going to go out here and kill each other all day long because they don't like themselves. But it's not just black people either. White people also have suffered. Yes. Don't think I'm just getting on black people. And don't think that the white man escaped anything. He hasn't escaped a thing. He's basically in worse shape because he has believed in this system. He's been told that this is his system and that this system protects him. And it don't. And he's starting to see it right now with the immigration and the way that the media is portraying his actions and his life. It was only a matter of time. See, the race thing between the so-called black and white man is dying out. There's no more use for it, really. It's a new day for a new boy on the block. The Asian and Hispanics, who are basically distant cousins, if you didn't know it, the Chinese and the Hispanics are related by blood. They go way back to the Olmec and Aztecs and all that stuff over here. See, American history is very, very rich, but you're not going to learn that stuff in the school systems over here. That information is kept in the vaults. That's kept amongst the few. That's why you have to be very careful whenever you go out here and you take somebody else's word for it. Because they'll lead you down a long, dark alley. And they'll have you strung up by your toenails. And you think you're standing on your feet. They can have you going west and you headed east. Yes, white folks has got a lot to lose. And a lot of them are not going to be able to withstand the assault. And you got the conservatives again. You got the people like Jesse Lee Peterson and Larry Elder and Thomas Sowell and whoever else you want to name, Clarence Thomas. It's always talking twisted talk. That's twisted talk they talk. Uh, the blacks hate whites. That's common garbage. Black folks do not hate white people. Black folks love white people. That's for sure. I can say that with certainty. The proof is already been presented to you by the use of the word white supremacists. You're looking at them as a noun. Okay? That's how you're looking at them. You don't see them as being plural. You see them as being basically someone that has the power to dethrone you and destroy you and hurt you and beat you all day long. But most Caucasians don't see themselves inherently as being superior. That's on their smoke screen that they've been taught, they've been know how to feel that way. Because of the laws of the land have been in their favor. And they have. That was done not out of love for a white man by the system. It wasn't done out of love. It was done out of necessity. Understand something? Racism and discrimination in America is done out of necessity. It is national security. It has nothing to do with hating another man because of his color. Although it turned into that based off of the bestial nature of man himself. Once man's ego begins to grow, it begins to erode and then it explodes. And he goes out and annihilates whoever is in his way. And when you see somebody weak, quite naturally, you're going to take advantage of that. But at the end of the day, those same poor whites that own slaves and that hated niggers, they call them, were the very ones that died dirt poor without anywhere to go. Some died in the rest home. Some died in retirement homes. Some died in the back of their truck or their car. Some died outside. Only the purpose they served was the suppression and oppression and the annihilation. All these things was an extension. But the root of racism was based off of national security. It was based off of preserving the union totally. It was not based off of, they didn't create it because they wanted to hate when whites, blacks hate each other. They brought this stuff in because they knew it was going to rival their power structure. Yes. And if you notice something, it does. Every single time that things go down, the power structure feels like things are coming apart and they lose their power. And then they start to calling on this person and that person. And then they'll call on me and you. They're calling me and you that don't look nothing like them to go and help them out. A lot of people blame Donald Trump for everything. They blame him for the January 6th insurrection, but I doubt that was his fault. Matter of fact, I know it was his fault. That was the very fault of the very administration that's in there now. And unless I'm wrong, there will be another one. They blamed him for COVID-19. Is Donald Trump a racist? I don't know. He may be. I say I don't know because I don't know the man personally. And I also say I don't know because it really doesn't matter to me if he likes so-called black folks or not. We got to stop worrying about people liking us because of our skin tone or our height or our weight or our finances or whatever. Because for every Donald Trump that despises my guts, I can go out here and get 10 to 15 black folks that will cut my throat in the broad daylight and lie about it and laugh about it. And if I'm saying that to say that black folks are evil and not my friends, we got a dislike for one another. A grave dislike. We just can't stand one another. We don't want one another to get up off of the snide and do for self. Just like King Randall, the young 21-year-old that got out there and smashed Roland Martin. Roland had it coming, and he got more coming. And he had the audacity to get upset because that young guy is doing well. All he wants to do is go out here and vote. Like voting saving us. Like voting doing so much for us. Like I said before, you don't own the politicians, you ain't got nothing. Because the government that the politician serves is not you. But, the thing about racism in America is that racism in America transcended so many levels. It's gone from one thing after another. Now it's the LBGTB, whatever you want to call it, thing. And it's the Black Lives Matter. It's all of that. All these things are coming up. All these things are in the mix. And all of these things are fighting against racism and discrimination, homophobia, anti-Semitism. All this stuff is being fueled by the old renaissance of old dogma of the past, the Old Boy Network, the Klan, the skinheads, the White Citizen Council, all that stuff that still exists. Now, let's just show you how hypocritical most Americans are. Joseph Biden in 1994, it's clear as day, wrote into existence the 1994 crime bill, which targeted predominantly young black men. And all his cohorts, they knew about this. But they said a word. But if you let that be in somebody else, even if Donald Trump have done it, you never heard the last of it. What I'm saying is that people basically go along with whatever is benefiting them. There are race hustlers in every neighborhood, in every race. Well, not. I'm gonna stick to the black and white. Don't know about the rest of them, but the black man and the white man are race hustlers. They're hustling each other. They hustle their own people. The white man's hustling his, for them to feel that they're superior, and the black leadership is hustling his to keep them inferior and keep them dependent upon the system. And then you got the middle ground. That's your conservatives and your Republicans who live in another world. A world that don't exist for anybody. And if the Republicans really and truly were about anything, they would have corrected the wrongs a long time ago. They were a party of supposed to be of right and justice. There should have never been a civil rights movement. There should never should have never been a need for that. The Republicans should have done more, but they didn't. And the reason why? Because Republicans and Democrats are the same system, just different fingers on the same hand. That's all. There should have been no need for what happened, but it did. But check out this video and give me a call at 919-332-3107 and join me again for the next telecast. Peace.